There is a chat. There are some people here. My sound sucks. How's this? Is there better sound? I have a thing that does sound, a microphone thing. It says it's all working. Oh, there's the sound levels. What if I mute that? Nope. No, that wouldn't be good. I don't want to mute my USB advanced audio device. That solved the issue? Am I better now? Ah, it's probably because the microphone's closer to me. Oh, I can see the chat now. Which I've been told never to look at when you're actually on real YouTube, because people just come in and insult you, which is nice because I'm used to being insulted. But you guys are special. You guys are the people, and thank you for listening to me ramble. You're the people I do things for. If you've seen me at a con, all I do is ramble and talk about weird things. And I used to talk politics a lot, but only in the nice way, because face-to-face people are much nicer. And I like knowing where people come from. But that is playing with fire these days. Since we may be in line for a second civil war, from the way things seem to be very heated right now. If you follow me, you know roughly where I stand on most things. And with these things, I'll probably generally try to avoid most things like that. Although news is kind of crazy these days, and it's hard not to think and talk about what goes on, especially in the lead up to an election. Elections used to be my Christmas, not because I'm a partisan one way or another, but because I like process, and to me it's the ultimate sport where the result matters. But it's hard to talk about politics without talking about politics. So, or talk about anything these days without talking about politics. So I'm glad I fixed the sound, which sucks because I was talking for 20 minutes with horrible audio. Well, when this goes up on YouTube later, you can just fast forward through all of that. But yeah, Patreon updates. I want to do like quick, normal Patreon updates just as a quick thing. And answer any questions you guys ever have. And just blurt out exactly what's going on and what the status of everything. And then I'll probably make the commission things their own separate thing. But this is a fancy, big, bullshit first version. Am I allowed to swear on YouTube? I don't think I'm not monetizing these. I've already had a copy strike on the intro thing I made. Because some folk music band from the Czech Republic thinks it owns North Korean music. I expected North Korea to come after me, maybe. But these guys are claiming it's part of their song, which is definitely later than the Korean War. So I'm not going to dispute it because who wants to go down that rabbit hole? I don't own the copyright to it. I thought it was public domain. I got it from a public domain site. But that music may change on the intro thing anyway. So I'm going to be doing various things. I found lots of public domain stuff. And I need to start inserting comic-y images and actually do some dedicated filming of comic book stuff for a lot of these things. I have plans. I have ideas. Inking, the next stage after penciling. I do that because I'm not confident just to paint in straight pencils. I mean, you can, but it's a little more involved, a little more risk-taking for one of these things right now. I mean, I do it in private and see how it turned out, and if it sucked, well, I didn't have to show anyone. But the general process of how I work is I ink these next things, and I have all my pens off to the side. Another thing of starting to do these things, I've realized I need to clean up my desk. Not in a cleaning up messy way. I have controlled chaos. I know where my pens are. I know where my paints are. it looks horrible to anyone else. And it is nice to be organized. I have a bunch of organized stuff over there, pens stuck up and paints organized and stuff. But for my actual using stuff, everything's in a heap and I just pick, like I do with a con. But I have some more organizational things on order in the next couple of days that will actually just free up some space, make things look a little neat. This is a fidget thing. It's I don't know what you call it. It's a fidgety. So each one of these has something, because I always fidget while I work. Apparently it's a brain process thing. Helps a lot of people. This thing moves. That's a switch. I don't have OCD. I'm not about light switches or anything like that. That's a ball that moves with cogs. It's weird. But as I've been working so much lately, I use these things called kneadable erasers with some cat hair on it. By the way, you're going to see a lot of cat hair in this shit. I have 3 cats. We have 3 cats, me and my wife. And they get everywhere. So anyway, this is a kneadable eraser. And I would always fidget with these, or bits of these. And it would actually end up killing my fingers and make them sore after a while. So this is probably a better alternative. But it is really part of the process. I'm always fidgeting on something while I think and draw. And there's some sort of neurological basis for this. It helps. It helps you concentrate and focus. So that's what that was, sorry. I like my desk being dirty. It's not dirty, it shows what has gone before, no matter what I work on. Okay, before I start inking this, I use boring pens. This is a Micron. This is a 005. It's like one of the smallest you can get. I use boring pens you can get from office shops, all of that sort of stuff. And I use calligraphy pen type things with chisel tips to get better line weights. I also use these sort of things. They're little brush pens, so they're full of ink and water. I mean, you can use watercolor in these too, but then they're brushy, so I use those. But that's for the next stage. And then I have these sort of pens, which are white, which I use at the end as well to highlight. Because I'm lazy. Because who wants to paint and leave a white line or space for a white line instead of just doing a white line afterwards? No, everything gets painted over and then I put the white. Vaguely, if I know what I'm doing. Oh yeah, and white pencils as well and things like that. I'm gradually adding new things to the mix. So this is my first commission, Taskmaster. So for a later stream, or the next stream, which will probably be a dedicated commission stream, I got asked to do, wait, that's upside down. Spider Jerusalem. I've only done him twice in my life, and once before I was even in comics where I misspelled bowel disruptor. That's fantastic. I was young, but I wasn't that young. I really like the way this one turned out. This took me a fucking long time to try and get the pose right and the perspective, and shoes and feet. No one likes drawing feet. If you like drawing feet, you have a foot fetish at this point. But yeah, I've planned out it'll be very dark and moody on the top. So that's for the next one. Not now. And I have another one I've got to do, which will be a little more complicated, but that'll involve drawing someone. I'm loath to do it, but it's a special one for a special person. I'm loath to draw people's likenesses because mainly I suck at that. It takes a lot longer, but if I can get it down, if you have good reference, it still takes a long time for me. I'm not a genius. I'm not Bill Sienkiewicz. I'm going to let my cat in again because she wants in. Get in. You coming? Yes, you can come in. That is it. Come on. Yeah, fine. She's in. If you're lucky, she'll jump up when I've got paint out and she'll get her paws in all the paint. Because she does like to jump up. Don't you, Aya? She's very happy right now. Yeah, I should probably just start painting. If I talk a lot, I apologize. If I don't talk a lot, I apologize. I've seen some artist streams and they just put up them working, generally more on computer, but they don't say anything, which is a bit weird to me. So the new way I started working is I use I've really shrunk down my line weights. I'll still add thick line eventually, but well, some. But I've really narrowed down the line weights, and I like working much finer now. So I add a lot more kind of shading in, and just the basic structure of all the art is very fine line. So it allows me to get more detail in. By the way, I work small, obviously, compared to a lot of artists. So the smaller I work, the better it's going to look. Because it doesn't get... Yes, hello. Okay. She does that. I'm going to have to stop her doing that sometimes when I'm doing things. And she wants to go out again. This is going to be a problem. No, you can stay. You can stay. You made your choice. But yeah, so the only reason people work at like 11 by 17 usually is because the art gets shrunk down and it tightens everything up. But with me and the way I've always done stuff and my style in general, it's like, I work small anyway. Some artists do work small. I know Charlie Adlard on The Walking Dead always worked like pretty much to size. I work kind of to size, a little bit bigger, just with the paper size. But it means you can be faster, you use less ink. But if you want it to look half decent, you've got to be more detailed. Because a lot of comic art I've seen is pretty simplistic. But when it's shrunk down, it actually looks pretty good. No, I'm going to keep it there. It looks pretty good because it's been shrunk. But if you're not shrinking it, then you've got to put a bit more work into the main thing in the first place. But also, you know, the larger the art, the nicer it looks as an original. But a lot of people are using computers now anyway, so does that really matter? I will always do work by hand because I am a stubborn old fool. I will probably try and dabble in the computery side one day. I was one of the first to start using computers because Dave McKean pretty much started that whole kick on Photoshop. Then there was a few people, a guy like Ashley Wood started toying with Photoshop and mixing mixed media art into that as well, into real comic stuff. I came in on the edge of that kind of thing with using Photoshop, and then I never progressed any further when they developed tablets and styluses and kind of doing it on screen first or doing it on I just could never get the hand-eye coordination with the early stuff, so I gave up. But now it seems like it's much easier, but they say that it's faster, but it would have to be so much faster for me to give up making a real piece of art. One, because you can obviously, it's an object, you can sell it if you want, but you can also, it's a memory, you can keep it, it's a physical thing, which is actually mostly what I do. Although I do need to put some more art up in the store because most of my art's sold or it's really old. Patreon store, most of that stuff's sold or it's gone. The public store, yeah, most of that's sold. I need to put some new stuff up. I do have new stuff. If I'm working quick, things usually take like maybe an hour or so to ink, which is going to be a really boring live stream. But maybe I can edit these later to to be a time-lapse thing. Which I can probably do that, yeah. So people don't have to wade through an entire 3-hour thing of just me being pedantic and jabbering on the jibber jabber. But for now, I'm going to be doing this on the live stream. It's really hard to turn your brain off when you start talking to doing art. Normally, I don't obviously talk to myself when I'm doing the art. And when I'm at a con, I have people in front of me, and I'm usually talking to the person I'm doing it for. Oh, I haven't. Hi, Chris. I have noticed that your xenomorph and clothes are getting my clothes are getting lots of lines for contour. Is that new? Yes and no. I mean, I guess it's new to you. I think I've been doing it for a few years. I've discovered a guy called Sergio Topi, or Topi, however you call it, a few years back, and I finally, I don't know if you saw social media, but I got an art book of his. I'll fucking show it. So he uses lines kind of as texture and as a directional tool. So yes, I do that in my work a lot more now than compared to 5 years ago or so, especially. I keep trying to put it upside down. It's because I think you're here and I'm trying to show you like that. Because I'm a moron. So this is totally... pretty sure he's dead. He's an old master, that's for sure. But he does all this sort of amazing stuff. But it's crazy. Crazy shit. Plus, I feel like if I put more lines into it, people think I've done more work. But yeah, the contour lines, as you want to call them, they're good for clothing and texture, and just giving it. I mean, you could just fill it in straight black, but that would be rather boring. It doesn't add any interest to the eye, really. So yeah, this guy's going to have a lot of contouring as well, so to speak, a little bit. I just call it texture, really. A lot of little fine line work texture. Another reason for it is because I got a kick out of one of my good friends. His name is Jeremy Bastian. He's an artist who did, or does, because it's a decade or more project for him, a book called, what's it called? The Something Pirate Girl? Oh, it sucks. I'm drawing a blank on the full name. Cursed Pirate Girl. But that guy is insane, artistically speaking. You need a magnifying glass to see his work, because his line work is so small. He'll work on something this big, and it will look like something an artist drew huge. But he's done it. It's insane. He's insane. I worry for his eyesight. But he does such fine line work. I'm like, well, I can't do that, but I can at least go one step towards that and make my work a little finer. So I wanted to do that because it looked really cool. Yeah, I'm a fan of thinner line weights now. I think the older I get, I tend to feel like I want to put more work in, not in the sense of like more time. I want to make it look like I have, even if I don't. But I do. The older I get, the more. When I first started out, I didn't even ink my work. I didn't think I had to. Everything was just a watercolor wash over pencils with the 30 Days of Night stuff, and then a lot more Photoshoppy stuff than I would probably do now. But it's been a long progress through the years to just go, you know what, I'm going to do a little bit more by hand. I'm going to do a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And it eventually evolves into me taking a fair bit longer and putting a little bit more work into everything. which I don't know if people can tell, but I can tell, and it's very strange because I'm a commercial artist, but at the same time I do most of my work just for me. So it's a personal thing, which is hard to explain to someone because I'm not known for my Marvel or DC stuff, although I've done a few DC things, and I've technically done some Marvel things, which at some point I'm happy to just I can bring up a computer view and show a whole bunch of stuff I've done that I'm not sure if everyone's seen, but I don't really feel like spamming the Patreon with actual images of that, but I'll show it on the stream. But I've done some stuff. I did I am waffling now, but I did a Punisher, some sort of exclusive Punisher print for I've not heard of Nah. Sketch card artist. I'm going to have to look him up. Him or her. Nah doesn't sound like a name, it sounds like a defense system. North American radar, I don't know. It sounds very like it can kill people. So I've technically worked for Marvel, although it wasn't Marvel, the comics division, it was their other side. And I have worked for DC. I've done a couple of miniseries, at least a one-shot and a the first part of a series. I did a story arc, shall we say. But my first work was actually meant to be for Vertigo Comics, and it never actually ended up coming out. It got shit-canned after I'd already done 30 pages. Nothing to do with me. I got paid for the work I'd already done. But it never saw the light of day. So somewhere at DC there is 30 pages of a book that was going to be published or out before I'd ever done anything else. It was written by Joe Casey, and it was called The Darwin Theory. And I was pretty proud of it, but I don't even have the files anymore. I really don't know where any of that art is. But it was like really, really long time ago, so maybe one day. Joe owns all the rights to that now, so it may eventually see the light of day as something. I waived all my rights to it. I'm happy for him. If it has success, it has success. That's great for him. I wish him all the best with it. But yeah, the editor got fired or let go, or however you want to say it, moved on. And anything that she had in the works at that point that hadn't seen print was also kind of said, no thank you. They just cancelled it. But I didn't care because I just got asked to do stuff by Todd McFarlane. So my first real published comic work was with Todd McFarlane Productions on Hellspawn, picking up after Ashwood left. Left with 4 pages of an issue to do, and so I did 4 pages to try and, I hate it when an artist takes over a book and it looks completely different to the artist who was just on it. And obviously I'm a huge fan of Ash anyway, so I tried to make it look as seamless as possible. And that was my first published work. So I did a couple of issues of that, and then 30 Days of Night came out because we started getting a lot of bigger breaks for approvals on things with Hellspawn, so I had more time and I was just happy to do comics. So 30 Days, the miniseries, was the first completed thing I did in comics while Hellspawn was going on. But yeah, single issue wise, Hellspawn was definitely my first work. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up. Nah. I'm glad you guys found the chat, and I fixed hopefully some audio stuff, so I'll make this a regular feature, but also it'll be recorded and I can put it up just for you guys. I think just for you guys. I mean, it'll be public, but it'll be for you guys. It's addressed to you guys. You guys are the only people who get to talk to me right now. I'll probably go public later on. I don't mean now, I mean future videos. Because it's hard to tell the world you exist when you don't do anything publicly. Social media is still the key to everything. I actually don't post much art on social media anymore. I don't know if you notice. I do, but it's not much because it all goes to Patreon. And then I forget that I didn't post it on social media. And why would I post on social media when I show you guys first? So I mean, I don't mind. I hope you guys don't mind me showing what I've done later on, either when a project is meant to be promoted or it's actually, you know, been a long time and I can actually show something that I can do, that I've done, covers and whatnot. But you guys get to see everything first. Yeah, I only have one cat in here. They did not let me get any sleep this morning. They got me up before I was meant to be up. My wife Ash is looking for the other cat, who is not here. But he is a fat lump. He's a British Shorthair named Boris, and he actually has his own Instagram. It's Boris the Brit on Instagram, if you ever want to see the fat slob that we live with. Well, the other fat slob, I know. Fat slob. Thank you, Chris. I'd like to say I'm all good at this point, but I've never been good. There's definitely something wrong with me. But yes, I'm going to try to rebrand the whole Patreon thing a little bit and just, I like the idea of the Squid Army. That's what it is. And I can make little things that are Squid Army-ish, like faux propaganda-ish of the old era, and but make it about squid. Which kind of means I still have to do a bunch of Cthulhu squid-related kind of projects and subject matter. And I have a few things that are like that are not technically comics, or they will involve a bit of comics, but won't be full comics that I can also throw into that fit really well, because I love tentacles and squid, some of the most intelligent creatures on the damn planet, but they're very alien to us. I am pro-cephalopod. And if you're smart, you will be too. I was actually on not a live stream, but a call yesterday when I got the news alert about Chadwick Boseman, which was kind of unbelievable. But it happened while I was live with someone looking at a camera. So I hope there's no horrible news today, because I'm kind of sick of horrible news, and I think most people are. I think we'd all like a little less stress right now. I'm lucky though, in a way, because the rest of my family are down in Western Australia, where they have no COVID cases, none of that shit, but they've also kind of locked the border down with even the rest of the country, let alone the rest of the world. So it's very hard to come in and out. You got to do quarantine and all of that stuff. This guy has a Scully kind of mask. I know this character's changed over the years a little bit, and he's got some sort of metal kind of thing, but I like him looking more more evil, and so did the guy that got the commission. So I hope he likes the way it's looking so far. You can see some of the... I really had the shading in at the painting stage, so this is all still... I should really look at reference before I do this. I should just check the finer point of his costume. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's more, it's not a ring. Okay, so it's the problem when they're characters you've never drawn before. Speed it up. Okay, that's a double ring. Or maybe I'll hide that with paint. Yeah, I'll hide that with paint. Usually when in doubt, black it out is a very good rule for an artist. So there's going to be a lot of shadow in this anyway. So if I do screw up bits, I can always fix it later. Hail Squid Neil. I know there's a delay on this and I keep forgetting to look at the chat, so I do apologize. This is meant to be I mean, it's unlisted, so only people that have the link can view this. So I recognize names, but at the same time I don't. So Christopher, yay. There's several Christophers, that it's getting complicated, but Creator Talks, thank you. Got to see, well, you guys have YouTube accounts and see the videos you're posting. I'm going to put a bunch of stuff up eventually. Because YouTube is the big one. It is the evil big one. Like it or hate it, we are stuck with it. If there are alternatives to YouTube, I would love to hear them, but they're not going to get the audiences yet that any others get. It sucks when monopolies set in. Do you remember when there would be social media online stuff that would be a hit for like a year or a few months and then disappear and go, it's not trendy anymore? Yeah, that stopped. We all ditched MySpace and went to Facebook, and now Facebook and Google and Amazon own everything. I don't think there'll be... Well, Twitter is still independent, so... And Twitter is actually pretty small, but... And Twitter is also not exactly the healthiest place to be for very long sometimes. None of them are. But I kind of do live on YouTube a lot lately, so... Because when I work outside of this feels very strange to me right now. I always have like documentaries or something going on, usually on YouTube, because they're playing a lot of the old, like really old niche kind of stuff. I like a lot of history documentaries. And I seem to have exhausted everything else on the paid streaming platforms, so YouTube has been good for that, even if it's got ads on it or whatnot. And there's honestly, I've because I've been missing the cons so much, I've started to try and watch or find comic book stuff, and there's a lot of comic book history kind of YouTubers as well. There's an account called a channel called Jerk Comic, and he does some really good history of various high points and low points in comics and their creators. And there's a guy named Perch. Perch is really good. He talks about like retailery stuff and just industry stuff in general. Sometimes it's a bit too shop talk for a lot of people, I'd guess, maybe, who, if you're just a regular person who just wants to read comics. But it's a good insight into the whole industry type thing. And I like it because I can relate to both sides a bit. And I have opinions on comics, which at some point I'll probably share. Suffice to say, things are complicated. I don't think comics are dying, but I think they could be a lot healthier. But then I've always thought that since I ever got into comics. I'm not going to go on I promised myself I wouldn't go on a rant about comics. Or about the lack of marketing, and they don't sell to anyone unless they're already reading comics. Like I said, it's complicated. I would say, if I moved to France, and this is not me, this is not about me, this is about anyone who does comics that have been published and vaguely well known. If I moved to France, I would be treated kind of like how America would consider treating a film director of any note. It's very strange, but they have a cultural appreciation of comics, or sequential art, shall we just say, that is much, or was at least, I hope it's not changed from a few years ago, much higher than America, where the general public perception, even to this day, even with billion-dollar movie franchises and things, and obviously the movies aren't highbrow, they're aimed at the broadest population possible, but I wouldn't say they're completely for children or anything, but the perception is comics are still for children. So, but in France they treat you like they call you an auteur, which means author basically, I think, and you are respected. Like you actually created something of cultural value. And comics are culturally valuable. Even the ones for kids, but you get very different questions from normies when you explain, oh, you do comic books in America versus in France, or Belgium, shall we say. So, where I was going with that is I got invited. This is how highly they think of comics in France. Is that there was a movie festival. Oh, I just knocked my table. And every year they do it, they have a rule where, because it's storytelling, I guess, and because just because they're awesome, they make sure to have on the jury one comic book person, writer or an artist or both. So I got invited to this movie festival, horror movie festival, as just because I did comics, horror comics, I guess. But I got to hang out with George Romero and talk film with him, and meet his lovely wife Suzanne. And this was when he was still alive. I was really sad that he died. So he was a bit frail even at that time, but it was amazing that he came, and he was still signing and doing awesome things for people. But it was like that was probably one of the experiences of my life, and certainly not an expected one. You do not expect to be sat by a canal in a small French village, drinking wine with George Romero, just because I drew a horror comic book. But it's kind of amazing when you think about the opportunities that you can get just because you tell stories. And telling stories is kind of like one of the most ancient and important things human beings have ever done. We started doing it on cave walls, which are kind of like comics, I guess, when they were telling them in pictures before there was language. even to this day. So, like, we'll never not need stories. So, it makes me feel vaguely useful. Even though I'm not really useful. I'm not saving anyone's life with what I do. I know that. But, wow, he looks really different for the TV show. He just looks like a guy from G.I. Joe. Like from Cobra, but... I mean, he looked cool, but... Yeah, I was never going to be drawing that version. When you draw muscles... Yes, there's real muscles and there's fake muscles. But honestly, if they look like they make enough sense, it's all style at this point. I don't pretend to have a firm grasp of anatomy. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but mostly I'm drawing things to look. Obviously, I'm not a realist guy. Yes, here's the artist in his natural habitat. This is what I do. I sit at a desk all day, this desk, and I do stuff. Usually while watching YouTube or Amazon or Netflix or something. I rarely have music on anymore because I like things that break things up. So I like to look at a screen and be able to see whatever's relevant to the sound. So I tend to zone out too much. When it's music I like, I lose focus because I'm enjoying the music too much. And if it's an audio book or something, I don't even listen to it, so it's wasted on me. Because it takes energy for me to concentrate on that instead of on this. So I like just having a little something storytelling, or, I mean, a documentary is just telling a story, even if it's a story of ancient history. But it also fuels my imagination for future things to draw or stories and whatnot. And I cannot understand why there are not more movies about ancient history that we just aren't in the general public knowledge base, but would make great stories. And, you know, then you get movies like 300 that explain to the rest of the world, oh yeah, the Greeks and the Persians, they did some stuff. But it turns out they did a lot more than that. There's some other great stuff. I would like to do a Greek-Persian battle comic one day. And I have a story in mind. It's not a made-up story. It's a real story. I'm going to do his sword. Sorry if I keep moving it, and I need to remember where the camera is. There's actually an old... there was this guy named Xenophon. And he was like a college student, but he joined a mercenary company for fun and profit, I guess, when he was young. And about 10,000 Greek soldiers, hoplites, whatever you want to call them at the time, they weren't all hoplites, waltzed on into Asia Minor, I guess, and were hired by a Persian king wannabe when there was a civil war dispute thing going on about who'd be the next, I was going to say Khan of Khans, but no, King of Kings, whatever you want to call them, what they called themselves. So they were going to fight on his behalf. He died before too much really happened, so there was 10,000 Greeks in the middle of Persia when the other guy won, so it was hostile territory. And they have to try and get home. And to my knowledge, it hasn't really ever been a movie, but it would be a pretty good movie. Because this guy named Xenophon kept a journal. And he was one of the leaders. And he was pretty young. So when the guy died, who they were actually hired by, the other side said, look, we'll be your friend. We'll help you get home. It's fine. So you just come and meet with us, and we'll talk about it to the leaders of the Greek mercenaries. So all the leaders of the Greek mercenaries went and had a chat. Well, they thought they did, but ended up getting executed. So the Persians cut their head, or cut them off at the head, thinking that that's what they were doing. But before it could get any worse than that, the Greeks realized what was going on and like, hang on, they just killed all our leaders. So they got some new leaders and figured, oh, we're going to have to fight our way thousands of miles back to home. So there's a few books out there. One's literally called Xenophon. Another's called like Anabas, I think is the original text, because it's ancient Greek to begin with, and or the March of the 10,000, and it just details them trying to get home while being slowly picked off somewhat by the Persian army. And this was all, I think, before 300 and all of that stuff happened. Although I'm probably misremembering all of that. But anyway, there's a huge sort of battle story there about Greeks fighting Persians in hostile territory that I've always kind of wanted to do. But you've got to find an actual story amongst that, because you can't just have 100 pages of a battle. Not a battle. Guys walking, slowly being picked off and just slowly fighting back. You need a few things to break that up and have a point to the whole thing. Because the ending is kind of anticlimactic too, because I think they just make it back to like a village on the coast, and some say, yeah, we'll go, and some say, yeah, we'll stay, and kind of fizzles out. There's no like grand finale. Unless you want to make one up with like something personal going on to someone or something. But that shit should be a movie anyway. There should be more movies like that. More movies about the history of the Mongols too. I read a lot of history stuff. I like a lot of history. Sorry. Mostly about people dying. And the reasons why things are the way they are now. I don't know how entertaining this is for anyone, but this is what I do anyway. Oh, fuck. So when I pencil this, I'm like, yeah, okay, there's going to be lines going here, lots of little lines. It's just going to be annoying to do. It's going to kill this pen, but adding texture to the background, I decided, no, I could just add a wash later on that takes 5 seconds, but no, let's add all these lines. Let's make it look like he actually did work. And once you commit to it, you gotta follow it through. So I didn't even mention, this is not white paper. This is grey tinted paper. It's like 80 pounds line weight sort of thing. But I like working on the tinted paper. Most of my comic pages are on tinted paper now too, because it means you've already got a mid-ground established, and all you have to do is go a little darker and a little lighter. But if you're working on white paper, you have to really build up a lot more dark, and then, yeah, it adds more work. It's nice when you have some mid-color, mid-tones already established. I think it looks nicer anyway. So I've been working on grey tinted paper for a few years. Yeah, I'm killing this pen. I haven't used my feature tool because I'm actually concentrating and just rambling. I feel like someone's here, so I got to keep talking. I'd feel rude if I didn't talk. Ruder than I'm normally apparently perceived as. I don't know if I'm rude. I don't like to. I try not to be rude. I'm trying to give you guys... One of the main reasons for doing these sort of streaming things is give a little bit of a convention experience at home. Because honestly, I would be rambling on to anyone at my table as I was drawing this right now anyway. I do hope cons come back. For people that do nothing but work at home, like me anyway, like anyone in comics really, It's nice to see fans and people, like, to know that your work is actually out there and read by someone. It's kind of like, oh, okay, this is actually all real. I'm not paranoid. My work has made it to the real world. It's nice to get feedback, and it's nice to see old friends, obviously. And I actually really enjoy making things and treating it like problem solving, of like, what is going to get a reaction from people? What are people going to be interested in? You know, both in comics and little things, merchandise and things. So I think the age of people selling prints at cons is definitely over. Not over, but everyone does it now. Everyone else only has so much wall space. They're very easy to bring to shows, but there's so many, everyone does them. So I've definitely noticed that prints are getting less popular, especially as more and more, should we say, amateur people that don't generally do comics, but they obviously can do prints, and they can draw Deadpool or whatnot, and then have a huge wall of prints behind them that are sometimes good, sometimes not as good, like quality wise. But you know, you can sell like five for $10 or something, which makes it a lot harder and a lot less attractive for you as an artist to do the 1 or 2 prints based on your own work, or your own IP especially, that you're trying to sell for like a proper amount that art prints, let alone giclées in the fine art world sort of stuff, would sell for like, you know, $20 a print. So that dynamic has definitely been changing over the years. So I have been thinking about new things to try and bring to cons. And obviously pins is a big thing. People got into pins. I never did pins yet. I am trying to do pins very shortly. But they take a little bit of money and upfront sort of investment, and then waiting a while, because I don't think I found anyone that does pins in America. Everyone that says they kind of looks like they do pins in America, they're actually just a front for, you know, they're people that subcontract out to then, you know, get them made by a factory in China often, which is annoying, because it means, like, if you're in America, why does it take a month or more for me to get my order? It's, oh, because we liaise with the factory in China, and that's where they actually come from. It's like, oh, well, why can't I just go straight to the people in China? I don't want to go to China. I love Chinese food, I love the Chinese people, but if I could help the domestic economy, I would do that. And that's it. You know, the pandemic changed everything now anyway. But I've always, being foreign, or an immigrant, but coming from a country with its own smaller economy, that it was export focused, always made me realize that you've got to, how do I put it? When you buy something, and obviously we buy shit made from everywhere, but when you buy something that's made in America or in your own state, literally even in your own city, you're actually keeping the profit and the money, depending on the entity, within the local economy, which actually boosts everything locally, or domestically at least we'll say. But when you buy a big, you know, Sony or, yes, an iPhone, I know they're made in China, although that's kind of, I mean, they subcontract out. Obviously China's getting very wealthy, or has gotten very wealthy off, I'm not attacking China per se, I'm saying, just using them as an example. They make a lot of money off the iPhones. And America doesn't see much of that, especially depending where the profit goes. But if you make things domestically, it helps the local economy, and it helps put more money in everyone's pockets, which means they then get to buy more things, and that's how we all grow. And that's really tough right now, obviously, since everything has come to a stop. Thank you, Jamie. Or Jerica, sorry. Shows up as Jamie and you signed it Jerica. She left a comment, he left a comment, she left a comment. Both of you are a couple. I love to watch you draw and talk, learning about the artist that is behind the art makes it more interesting. The more you get to know me, the more you will be repelled, I guarantee. Just talk to my wife. My wife actually streams, Ash, she actually streams on Twitch under the name Groovy Ghoul. So if you like to watch an attractive lady scream obscenities, she's kind of fun to watch. She plays a lot of horror games. And she's going to play an old one, but a new one that she's never played before sometime soon. Evil Within 2. And she wants me to come on and comment on it, apparently. Tell her how badly she's playing, or how scared she should be, or not to scream so loud. So usually when I'm up here working, she'll be down, because I'm on the top floor, and she's in it's not a basement because it's ground level, but she's in a slightly smaller room that's just her room for her Twitch streaming things. But I can hear her shouting and screaming usually while I'm doing stuff. And she's never going to do that while I'm streaming because she'll probably be too embarrassed to have that echo sound come up. But yeah, she's been streaming for a few months. She has about 100 followers. I don't think I could ever get into game streaming just because I suck at that. And I don't think anyone wants to watch me. I haven't played a game in months, but I play strategy games. Like history, war kind of games. So I was always into the Total War series of games. Not the Warhammer stuff yet, but the older history stuff. And the Paradox kind of games like Crusader Kings and Crusader Kings 2. So yeah, I had all these lines. That is annoying work. I like the effect in the end. Yeah, and those games can take literally days or weeks. If you play through hundreds of years worth of alliances and boring stuff, and I wouldn't know how to talk through the whole thing. It's probably my one hobby when I'm not busy working, because my hobby became my job, so I needed a new hobby. I was like, well, I enjoy strategy games, and I play the old ones, like the really old ones. Several years out of date, because my computer cannot play modern stuff right now. It's needs an upgrade, just on the OS. But I will never upgrade my OS. Well, that's, yeah. So I still use, like, my version of Photoshop is a decade, it must be more than a decade old. It's really old in that if I upgraded now, I'd have to pay a subscription fee for a whole new version, because the old version won't work if I upgrade my operating system. And that's why I don't upgrade. I'll use it till its death. It used to just be, oh, if I upgrade, some programs will stop working and I'll have to pay hundreds of dollars for new programs. But now no, now you don't even get to own things, you get to lease them. Which I wouldn't mind as an option, but I would much prefer to buy something and know I've got it and know where my money's coming in and out, instead of being on the line. It's like a gym membership. That's the way gyms make money. It's by people getting memberships and then not going in and forgetting they've even subscribed. I just want to pay for something once, because then I know what the hell's going on. I don't want to have to remember that I have to unsubscribe from things when I stop using them. But obviously, it makes more money to subscribe to something. the same with Steam. Steam is really annoying. It's like, yes, I bought something. Please stop updating it every 5 minutes and stopping it working properly or the way I knew that it used to work. I do not want to have to learn where all the buttons are again, like on a new Photoshop or whatever. I'm adding the second line right now, as you can see. I assume. Just adding a little extra on bits. Usually bits where there should be some shadow, and that pen's nearly dead. So I get another pen. I miss the age of owning things. Everything will be rented soon. Or downloaded and leased. First they came for games, then they came for all the streaming movies. We don't own them anymore, we just kind of rent them for a period and then they leave and new ones come in, but they can cut your service at any point. And eventually they'll do that with cars too. There'll be the Uber and Lyft and all of those will have their own self-driving vehicles, and no one will have a private car anymore. In theory, you'll just call one from the swarm, and it'll take you where you want to go. People won't need to own cars anymore. If you own a car, it'll be like people who own sets of encyclopedias now. You just have it because it's a weird relic of a cool thing that you used to like and you want to show off, especially with cars. It's like physical comic books. You could read them online, but it's a very different experience to owning the paper. But owning a car versus just sitting in the back of one, letting it take you where you want. I don't think I know many people that are very happy with the way technology is going. In general, things are meant to get easier, but at the same time, they're just making everything more complicated and forcing the rest of us to have to figure out new ways to live and not have our jobs threatened. They are making artificial intelligence right now that will be able to make music, write stories, and do art as at least as good as human beings, which I don't understand why, because there's not much left that we have except for having that human touch of creativity. I don't think I'd want to watch a TV show written by a computer on principle, but also because I don't understand why you want to make the human race completely redundant like that. Like what is there left that we can do? If not art and music and stuff like that. What will be the point of existence at that point? I don't know if you heard that, but I have neighbours. I have a delightful family with a teenage son who enjoys screaming in general, calling for his mother when he wants something, or when he's playing a game online or whatever he's doing, but he enjoys telling the world what he's doing. His name is Darian. He's probably 14, I don't know, 13, 14 or something. But he enjoys having his window open late at night while playing. And if you're in Seattle, you have no air conditioning, generally speaking, because it doesn't get hot enough here usually. But when it does get hot, everyone needs their windows open to cool down, because it's at least 10 degrees hotter inside than outside. And he enjoys letting everyone know how he's doing. So I should probably get some noise cancelling headphones. But then why should I have to suffer? I would have to spend money on that. The good ones cost a lot of money, so if anyone knows if they really do work really well, let me know. Normally in Seattle you don't need a window open, it's cold enough outside, so I'm looking forward to the cooler weather coming back. Does that look okay? Yeah, let's redefine him a little bit. I know the areas that'll have some shadow. Hopefully I haven't screwed this up too much. I need more line texture on the shaft. Yes, I said shaft. That was in a non-sexual manner. I have no idea how YouTube's gonna censor things, by the way. Not censor things, but flag me or whatever. So I've already had the copyright claimed on old North Korean choir music by a Czech folk band named the Nixon Boys, and they sing about Richard Nixon. But apparently they think a part of my opening music, only a part apparently, was from their song. So I'm going to change that. But I can't help swearing sometimes. But I'm not really trying to monetize any of these videos, so I don't think I'll ever be putting ads into these or anything like that. I hate the ads. Well, I don't hate them, but I'm not trying to earn an income off these videos. These are more outreach and just trying to be a con, but online, and answer questions and be nice. So I have noticed that some creators, and yeah, I know this isn't public right now. This is public to a few people, but it's like getting, answering questions is like some very privileged thing, but it's like, no. That's just what I do, what I would like to do. I do things to be, I guess, to be seen and have an audience. I wouldn't be, I mean, I'd always, if I was the last person in the world, I'd probably still be drawing, but ideally you do stuff so that it gets a reaction from an audience of some kind, at some point. And you want to, mix with them a bit and get some interaction. So I've never been used to the whole idea of you work for a publisher as a project and then it just goes out and you don't have any interaction. I mean, except for cons, but even then, it's like I like to bring people through the whole thing. Which is weird, because at some point I don't care what you think, because I made it for myself first. So everything I do is for myself first. I make things I think I would like. That's how I pick anything I do, really. I don't do it based on what I think, oh, this is flavor of the month, this will be popular, I'll do it for that reason. I do things because, well, I'd like to read a comic about that. But if it happens to be a vaguely trendy thing too, obviously that's in the mix. It's like, dolphins are popular right now. How about a dolphin porn comic? Maybe not. Okay, so I've inked all that. My hair is horrible. He's got a lot of smoke and stuff here, but that's not going to be in black because that gets whited out. Or shall we just say painted with white later? Why did I pencil this so roughly? Yes, because then I erase the pencil line. And I work in grey pencil, not blue. I've never got used to that blue, and I never leave the pencil in. I like to get rid of it all, especially on a commission, because for me it's the final art that I'm making here. It's not a process piece that I just feed into the computer later on to then know what I'm going to do in computer to actually finish the thing. Because normally I have that frame of mind, like I know where I'm going to put some sort of highlights or some other stuff that I can't do in the real world, or do really well in the real world. But this is meant to, in my laughable attempt, stand on its own 2 feet as a piece of art. I got most of it. Why does it look different on camera? Yeah. I hate how perspective changes. The way I look at it, it looks the way I want, and I look at it on screen, it looks weird. It's like when you do a mirror image. Oh, there's my old picture. That was my first attempt. I don't know if I like the way the sword was going on. Yeah. Then I figured on that one. Either way, he's getting a twofer. He's getting a quick sketch, and then he's getting the final. I do that a lot. If I don't like the way something's going, I'll turn it over and start again. I'm going to scan this. Watch me scan. My scanner is just here. I have a large scanner. I have an A3 scanner. A3 is like the paper size thing of the rest of the world. So it can scan 11 by 17 in one go. But it's a really old scanner. It's a miracle it still works with modern equipment, and that's another reason not to upgrade, because then I don't want to lose my scanner. Those scanners used to be, I think they still are, they used to be really hard to find, so really expensive. Oh, I'm watching my stream on delay. I'm so happy there's been no accidental nudity yet. So I just scanned the inks in. I'm going to bring Photoshop up properly. Come on, Photoshop. Come on. What are you doing? No, it's loading. No, it's not loading. Oh, I know what to do. I have too much going on my desktop right now. So, I'll hide that. No, it won't let me hide that. I'm trying to get to Photoshop. You know what? Either way, it's there. Screw that. I'll save it later. See, I was using that. I have my pen there. Normally I put my pens all here, but you don't want to see a bunch of junk. I have headphones here. I don't know if I should be using them. I think you use them when you're talking to people. Painting. I've got to move some stuff. I have this old watercolor set. I don't really use them. I just use the blacks, but that's great. But with this stuff, I use acrylic inks a lot more now. So acrylic inks are basically coloured inks, but they're not acrylic paint. They're acrylic ink. So they work in a way kind of more like you can wash them down and add colours and stuff, but because they're not watercolour is not as, these things are way more vibrant than watercolour if you do it right. Certain colours especially. So I have this little palette thing here. I just mix some of the basics and add washes. It is horribly, I need to get more professional, but I got a little sponge bit, I got straws. Straws are for spitting. I have my white acrylic paint as well. But first I normally add a few little tonal bits. I need it to be stronger, so I'm going to add some Higgins ink. I always lay down the blacks and the greys first. And I have more acrylic inks on order because I'm running out. I don't have half as much mixed media type stuff as someone like Bill Sienkiewicz, who, if you've ever seen his process, he's got a couple of process videos online, but he is a chemist. He knows what will react. He'll use all sorts of substances, and he knows what reacts with what. He uses alcohol, which I'm a fan of, but I don't have alcohol. You can do so many things with so many different materials, but I just stick to the mostly inks and pencils and things right now. I have two brushes, very shitty brushes. This has had a lot of use now, but this is my general little brush. It's got a nice fine tip, and I use the big one for washes and stuff, which is completely fucked at this point. We still have a picture of Carpenter's The Thing you did about 6 years ago, and on the back you were originally going to draw a T800 Terminator. Thank you, Jericho. I don't remember that. I was going to draw a T800? It must have been for a commission for someone. I've never drawn one for fun. Not because it wouldn't be fun, because they look really cool, but getting the mechanics of this, they just look so hard to get right to make them look like the actual Terminator. Xenomorph aliens at least are open to interpretation a lot more, and they still look like an alien, but drawing a T800 badly is going to look horrible. What am I going to do? So I have mixed some water into some ink. Oh yeah. I'll just start blocking a few bits in first, just so I know what sort of how dark things actually are. And I can add the shadowy bits. Problem with this shit is a lot of his costume is white, but it's not going to be white. He lives in the real world where there's shadows and different lights and various things, but it's still got to appear white in context of everything else. But this is just a bit where I tone it up a bit. And add some shadows in. I wish I could use the zipper tone type stuff, but I've got to get back in that habit. I tried it once. And you see artists like Daniel Warren Johnson use it, and he is amazing. And that negates the need for a lot of this sort of stuff too. I used to be a cartoonist for a newspaper, and I used to use Zippertone liquid a lot, because you could actually used to buy paper that were would come with two chemicals, and the different chemical, like when you put it down like this, would react, and it would come up. The tone would, the dots and the matrix kind of stuff patterns would come up depending on which liquid you used. Different pattern, like old school cartoonists used to use. And then I got fired. I didn't get fired. I got made redundant by Lachlan Murdoch, because Rupert Murdoch bought the local paper where I had my first job. It was a very tiny job. I was 16, but I got to do the local cartoon. I got to go in the offices and see how stuff was made, and it taught me a lot about horoscopes, and that horoscopes are bullshit. The way they would publish their horoscope, at least, was they would just fish into a drawer full of hundreds of pre-written horoscopes that they just bought off somewhere. So they had absolutely no relevance to anyone or at any time. They were all pre-written, and they just published whichever one they fished out from the lottery that day. But still, there's not many local newspapers these days anyway. But Rupert Murdoch bought out a whole bunch in Australia and decided to go with a national cartoonist instead of any local ones. So there went my $50 a week or whatever it was for my first ever job. It was super nice, and I learned a lot from the newspaper editor, who was my first boss. He was very kind. I think his name was Stephen, but I'm drawing a blank on that now, on his surname. It was super cool. I was a published cartoonist from 16, so I've also done Boy Scout badges. I did. That was weird. That was just weird. I never joined Boy Scouts. Wow, the Australian version, whatever it was, and but I did a little work for them, but they were very weird and difficult. And then I did some school stickers, a best-selling set of school stickers, like, you know, the stars and shit that says good worker, congratulations, hard work, all that sort of stuff. I did a bunch of series of them, especially with dinosaurs, and they sold really well for that company. I did a few like small business logos and things. All the stuff you do when you want to do art, but don't do comics. All the boring little things when you're a teenager, basically. It taught me a lot. This was all in Australia too, so it's not like we had huge magazine markets that would employ a great many illustrators or cartoonists or whatnot. He had a few, but not many. Alright, his shield is going to be dark. I ain't drawing no detail in the shield, fuck that. It's meant to be black in here, you're not meant to notice this stuff. Not black, but painted, toned. I don't like it to be flat either, I like texture, so... yes, my neighbour is at it again. I have my window closed and I can still hear him, because he has his window open. I used to think I liked kids, like kids, but I knew I was old when I was sat in a movie theatre beginning to watch a movie and there was a bunch of... This is how you know you're old when you're a man, is that people of the opposite sex, if assuming you're heterosexual, cease being attractive to you on a level and just become annoying. Like, I didn't care that there was some young ladies there. I just wanted them to shut up so I could watch my movie. But when you're younger, you're like, oh, young lady, attractive. Just in the back of your head, that's a guy thing. You're always thinking, oh, that is a young lady. I will be nice to her because maybe she will be like me, or something like that, especially if you're single, obviously. But you reach a point where it's like, no, I want to watch what I want to watch. My enjoyment matters more than these teenagers on their phones. And that's when I became old. It's scary though. I can feel myself slipping away from understanding how teenagers work. I used to be one, but now I have no clue what the hell's going on with what they think is cool anymore. I've turned into my dad. I am officially old. But I'd like to think I still have a cheeky sense of humour and stuff that people of any age with a sick mind would actually think is vaguely amusing. So if they don't, I'm in trouble. I still would like to think I'm creating stuff I would think my teenage self would go, that's kind of fucked up, that's kind of interesting. I might get that. That looks like my parents might disapprove of that slightly. Which is what teenagers generally like. In theory. At least me growing up anyway. Comics used to have an edge. They used to be the thing that you'd get in trouble for a bit. They used to have radical ideas in a sense. Parents wouldn't approve of them or dismiss them, sort of thing. Kind of like music. Be all rock and roll. The parents wouldn't understand, but I think we've lost that now. Everything's corporate. I'm trying not to be corporate. Thank you for helping me not be corporate. So I'm adding these this background bit is kind of just for interest, but I'm going to darken it up a lot more as well, but sort of to draw attention to his head or to the focal point. I don't know if you can hear my neighbour, but apparently, oh my God, is his favourite phrase right now. He appears to be fighting someone in his room. I don't think there'll be a murder though. We've already had too many of them. If you hadn't heard, we had several dismembered bodies a few blocks away from where I live get found. That was fun. It was found by some teenagers on TikTok. Well, they broadcast it on TikTok. Alright, now little colour in the smoke. But they've arrested a guy and charged him. And apparently he killed his 2 tenants who were renting a room from him. So it didn't turn out to be a very fantastic story. But he did kind of kill people and put them in bags. And then dump them at the beach. Right near where I live. Which was not something I expected. Certainly for 2020, but it's 2020, so you add it to the mix. What else? At this point, I'm only expecting aliens. Aliens might be a thing. And aliens are, well, we've had natural disasters, but at least not in Seattle yet. The volcano, that could be cool. I'll take a volcano. My neighbour's teenager was doing the same thing earlier while I was trying to work on recordings. Yes, Fenris, it is freaking annoying. I mean, I'm sure I'm loud at times too, but we live in a complex, so there's like houses not too far from each other. So if both people have their windows open, well, he's not even directly next to me, but we could have he's just really loud. Nothing. He never talks, he shouts. So, especially when he plays games. And for some reason, he's always on the phone, but you're a teenager, you're meant to. but it's always on speakerphone, and he never answers the phone for the first at least 5 rings. I really enjoy his ringtone. But yeah, when I play this back, I'll hear if I can hear him. I doubt it, but either way, it's distracting to me. God damn it. I just want to find out what game he's playing and like tell him he sucks at it, or like go play it and beat him. It's been nice though, because he hasn't been home for the last few days, so he can get some sleep. Because I normally work until like 2, 3 a.m. So 11 a.m. start is pretty early for me, because it takes me a while to get into the groove of life, of getting the brain kicked into gear. But yeah, we had dismembered bodies, so it's you can look it up. Alki Beach, bodies found. There's been a few shootings and whatnot over the years there as well, to do with drug deals and whatnot, late at night sort of thing. But lately there's been a lot of people just hanging out late at night, letting off fireworks and getting up to no good, doing a bit of vandalism and doing a lot of drinking. It's looked a little bit like the Vegas Strip a few times. This is all when the beach is meant to be closed at like 9 because of the pandemic, and you're not meant to be out socializing and spreading the virus. So a lot of the locals like that. I'm very glad I don't live right on the beach. Because I'm not rich. But I also don't enjoy fireworks at 2 a.m. in the morning. Randomly. And we are all very stressed. It's not looking too bad. If I end up being happy with something, I actually get a bit scared, because like, no, I'm not allowed to be happy with what I'm doing. I should always be very critical. But I don't think I'm completely botching it yet. Not to what I thought I was going to be doing. I've got to add all the fancy stuff yet. These are just the bass tones. Nearly done. How long have I been streaming? Quite a while. What does it say? I saw where it said before whether there's it's not telling me on the actual thing, so definitely a little while. So I'll make this public later, but I think at some point I can actually just cut out this part and make a time lapse of the art itself. So I don't think everyone wants to watch a 2 or 3 hour stream versus a 10-minute quick video. A little bit to the cape. Getting into the... So I'm doing all this while the paper's dry, so everything is a mark instead of a bleed. where it fades in and out. But I want that for the base, and then I go in and I do a whole bunch more. It was kind of fun. I know there's a lot of streams where people just sit there and talk instead of working while they talk, which I'm used to doing at cons, but I could get into this. Doodling away and chatting about things. Especially if it's not just me rambling on. Because actual conversations can bring interesting conversations out. Talking to another person. And also drinking. If alcohol gets involved, things get very interesting. But I pretty much run out of booze lately. This is right as tears. It was very nice. It was a very nice Irish whiskey. But it is done now, and I need more. But I have no money for more. I cannot justify buying alcohol right now. Well, I don't know if I can ever justify buying alcohol, but it's certainly fun. And I never drink alone, I only drink. I've drunk a couple times on video chats with people because we all needed to relax, but I almost never drink at home. I've only ever drunk, certainly not alone, but with people. Usually out at bars or socializing. But no one does much of that right now if you're being cautious. So. But it would be cool to do on stream if you're just hanging out with friends, because that is being sociable. It's also a way to get in trouble very easily. That's all the news and comics seems to be about these days, is people getting in trouble or doing things they shouldn't, or slips of the tongue. So with the pandemic, everything's recorded and online. Your entire life is documented if you want to be in public. I don't think I have any obnoxious opinions that I would accidentally let slip though, because I don't have obnoxious opinions. I just ramble about bullshit in general. So yeah, fill the background up a bit there. Yeah. Smoke there, not smoke there, but there's going to be a lot more smoke, so. Alright, now I gotta. Alright, god damn it. A little bit on the. Forgot the arrows. I swear this is worth the money. Look how much work I'm putting into this. I gotta shadow up his arm. Faintly. There definitely needs to be a shadow there. Falling through. I'll do this thing. A little more. Oh my! Oh, he's definitely got a friend over there. It sounds like a lady. Good for him. I hope I don't hear much more of that though. There are certain things I do not want to know about a teenager's life. Unless I was also a teenager. I'm very thankful I'm not a teenager anymore. But there are things they don't tell you about being old. I was never warned about hair. I don't mean puberty. I don't mean that shit. I mean what happens when you get past 30. No one told me that ear hair is a thing. That you get hair in your ears and that it comes out. And that your nose hair gets weirdly longer. There's some creepy shit. No one told me I'd have to start paying attention to hairs in weird places. I mean, I guessed it. You see some very hairy ears on older men sometimes, but not for me, thank you. Someone should have warned me. I think it should be called second puberty. When you get the hair in the places you never wanted it and never told. Alright. I'm using my horrible bitch brush. I call this the bitch brush. I make this brush my bitch. It's very broken. I should not be using it, but it still does its job because it takes a lot of water very easily. But yeah. That's okay. Now we're going to add a lot of water. And because it's ink and not watercolor, it's not going to, it doesn't bleed out. I'm not going to start mixing color everywhere badly. I'm just going to get water all over everything. And then I'm going to add more paint. Let it bleed everywhere. And darken stuff up. In little bits anyway. No, there's not enough water there. I have this thing, this is called being very ill and blowing my nose into very strange colours. No, it's just a paper towel to dab back a little. So it's not bleeding everywhere. A little bit more there. I'm going to have to check what colours some of this stuff is. No, he needs a little more shadow. You get more of a shadow. Like Oprah, you get a shadow and you get a shadow and you get a shadow. Everybody gets a shadow. Oh, Darian is really having some fun right now. He may have just hit puberty. I wish him well. I'm sure that you can't hear that on the screen, on the stream, but he is screaming at someone right now. It sounds very physical over there. Not in a violent way. I'm a kid and I'm very loud way. Because I'm having a tickle fight or some bullshit. Who knows? Who the fuck knows? Yeah, there's a little more shadow on his arm there, so. This is going to be fun when I work back in it with the white. But I'm going to have to check what the hell the colours are. Because I know he's got a bit of gold going on. And he's dark in places too. I may have to darken up a little bit this thing. Yeah, he's got some gold. Yeah, I'm going to give him the gold. Okay. So, yeah. Now you're too dark. Now you're too wet. I don't want wet. Not now. Normally I'd like wait 10 minutes for this to dry as well before I do too much more. Oh, hello Andrea. Thank you for coming in on the stream thing. Someday I'll have words that I can say things. As an Australian, we don't learn to speak until age 16. Before that, we just grunt. And I was a very late grunter. That's a joke. Oh, it's too black. It's still too black. I don't want to overwhelm everything. I just want to darken it up a little without killing everything that I've already built up. But I'm going to go over it with blues later anyway, so. His arm gets technical. He's got 3 colours on it. Okay. Oh, okay, this top bit's dark. Good, good. Oh, it's going to be too dark. What the fuck? Hurting your back and sneezing once you get into your 30s. I have not done that yet, Fenris. But the other thing they don't warn you about, sitting on your balls. I've only ever done it once because I'm not actually an old man yet. But man, if you accidentally sit on your balls, it is one of a life-changing moment of pain. And I guess as gravity takes effect as you get older, man or woman, there are things that go on, and they're not all pleasant. Yeah, there are things they never warned me about that I want my money back. Like puberty should have do it all, or just don't do any of it. Okay. My hair. The most adventurous thing I've done in the entire pandemic, apart from go out for groceries once a week or every 2 weeks, is I had my hair cut once. A few weeks ago, and it was an interesting haircut. It was alright, but it's like, it's not what I normally do, but it's like that has been my 2020s. I got a haircut. I did go to Alaska and Chicago before the pandemic hit. I did do 2 cons. And I got really sick straight after the Alaska show, got better, did the Chicago show, and then kind of got sick again in a weird way that didn't feel normal, but wasn't COVID-y, really. It didn't feel like I'd had the virus. I didn't have many of the main symptoms. I just was incredibly fatigued, was the main thing I remember, for about a week. But it wasn't really bad, not in the scheme of things. So I don't know if I actually had the virus. I know some friends have, but one day I'll get an antibody test and see if I had it. Apparently it doesn't matter because you can get it again. But we will see. So I did 2 cons, got sick, and then everything locked down. Had my birthday. Was still feeling meh around my birthday. Wouldn't appreciate nice food, so didn't have a dinner. Figured, we'll wait till next week. And then by mid-March, it was like, no, it's a pandemic now, so you can't do any of that. So it's like, okay. So nothing nice for my birthday then. Such is life. Okay, so he needs gold. I'm very much running out of yellow. It does just say India ink, But I mean, it all comes up under acrylic ink. But basically it's permanent, light fast, waterproof ink. It's Dr. Martens, which some people say is really a shit brand, but I don't know. I've got a different brand coming. But I bought several sets, and the other sets say it's acrylic ink, and it all seems exactly the same. So I'll put a bit in, a little yellow bit. Oh, he's more orange. Fuck. Yeah, I'll add more green. No, you know what? I'll add that after. I can add that after. For now it's yellow. But this is the part where I have to decide what the hell colours I'm going to make. I want reddish yellow highlights coming off his cowl, and I can do this thing there. And then blues coming up from here, like more shadowy. For me, it's always a fight between warms and cools, or lights and darks. Darian is really having fun right now. I know he can't hear me because I have my window closed. There's a bit of yellow there. And there's white up to there. Okay. Yellow there. These are yellow. I'm going to change these a bit. This isn't bright yellow either, it's just very faded yellow. But it's bleeding out still because the paper's wet. Well, that's okay, you want a bit of bleed sometimes. Because the final stage of all of this is I work back in with a bit of white. Clear some things up a little bit. I'm just getting the tones all up. And apparently he's got blue eyes in the middle there, so... And that's yellow too. Oh, screw it, these are yellow too. All these pouches are yellow. Oh, he doesn't have any pouches. He has pouches on his costume, but I didn't have pouches. You know what? This is yellow too. This will be orangey. Okay. Next, I'll add some blues for his main thing. Blue. Kind of blue anyway. Watered down blue. There's going to be a lot more blue in a minute. I kind of want to open my window so you can all hear them, what the hell is going on over there. Apparently he has a friend named Rory who is doing something to him that he doesn't like, or that he really likes. I cannot tell. More blue. And there's some loud noise out there that they're doing. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, his legs are blue too. Well, it sounds like a truck out there. Thank you for the kind words, Andrea, by the way. It's very... it's very hard to take compliments, but I'll take your word for it that I'm talented, but I don't think so. I think I get by. Okay, I'll make his sword blue too. A little bit. Because I'm going to have to bring the sword out a bit later too. Okay. Now, yeah, the paper gets a bit crinkled. It usually can take most of a fair bit of a beating. It gets a bit dodgy towards the end, but as long as I'm careful and I don't overwork things too much. It is time for red now. Wow, I'm always wanting to show bright red. The rag is the most important thing, obviously. Okay, for this bit I'm going to need a bit more yellow, which I'm rapidly running out of. I'm going to use full yellow, I'm not going to mix it with any water. And I'm going to wet this whole area down again. Oh, I think his dad's just turned up. I hear it. Very deep male voice. Maybe he's in trouble. Maybe he just set fire to his room or something. Okay, so it's wet. Oh, that's the wrong yellow. Here's the right yellow. Let's hope this works. So I want it to bleed in on places. See, when I put the yellow there, it goes green. Well, it's a bit of an experiment. We'll see how this goes. Okay, now I have a new rag with less paint on it. I'm dabbing it back because I don't want the full strength of the colour. Not yet, anyway. And I don't want them to mix too much. Yeah, let's mix it a bit. I wish the camera picked up the vibrancy a bit more. Yeah, I'm really overworking the paper now. It's bleeding through a bit. But it dries. Everything's fine. Okay, and then the blue. Wet this stuff down again. Still some red in it. That's all going to mix anyway, so. Get the blue in there. And add the blue. And hope this works moderately well. Let's try not to stuff it up too much. We want the blues and the reds to mix a bit, but not too much. I'm really trying not to overwork the paper too much. This is the bit where things either turn out really well, they fail completely, or a little bit in between. Oh man, I like the way the colours are working right now. You can't see on camera as much, but well, you had to have heard that scream. So the thing is, while it's still wet, the colours are much deeper on what I can see versus the camera's picking up. So I'm going to try and zoom in a bit more in a minute. I'm going to add some paint. Yeah, I have some white ink as well. You know what? I want to try the white ink. It's more Bombay white. Because we're dealing with a lot of A lot of bits of smoke and cloud. I haven't used it in a long time, so I don't like the consistency of the white. Oh great, it's just mixed with. Okay, not bad, not bad. Depends how it dries though. Things usually tend to fade a lot more when they dry. And I'm going to add a bit in there. Watercolor is much easier because when you make a mistake you can just add more water and it goes away for the most part. This is a little different, but you can still dab it off when it's wet, somewhat. But the colours end up being so much more vibrant half the time, so. I'm just going to lighten it up. Some white there. See, I just fucked his face up technically, but hopefully I didn't. And I'll leave a hint of faded white, but it's still bleeding too much, so. I will share photos of this on Instagram later too, with like some close-ups, because I really like some of how some of it's turned out at least. This highlights are yellow, but white-ish, kind of. Yeah, it's showing up a little bit. Got some white on there. Some white on there. This coat's white. Capes are white too. Bit of white on there. I'm going to add some very strong white lines there too later. This is just the faded white under smoke? I don't know what you want to call it. Oh yeah, I already have, I have this. This is just water, but I can spray a bit of water on and it bleeds it out a bit more. Really fuzz it up. So there's more smoke. Yeah, the more it fades, it darkens up a bit more again. So I'm going to keep that going a bit. I don't know if I actually sound Australian anymore, but hopefully I do. This guy's got white hands. Yeah. This is kind of a mishmash of an old costume and a new one, in a way, but taken my favourite bits of both. Because he's got the bits on the legs, but he hasn't got the bits on the sleeve, on the arms, hands, bits, knobs. Andrea says this is unexpectedly hypnotic. Well, if this means I should suggest things right now via hypnosis, then I'm willing to give that a go. I want you to open your wallet and send all your money to... When you hear the word Frappuccino, you will immediately growl like a zombie and say you want brains. I don't know. I like watching artists do art because you're kind of watching their mind make a decision every moment. And it is hypnotic. You're watching something hopefully come to life. So I get a lot of people that aren't into comics, watch me at a show. You can they're just random people that have come in because they've heard a Comic-Con is fun. You can tell they're not knowledgeable about much. They're just seeing what's there, but they love watching artists and then exclaiming they have no idea how you've done that, and that's the greatest thing in their life to be able to do that. But what they don't see is that you've been practicing since you were 5 or 4 or whatever, and that it's like riding a bike. No one can just get on a bike and ride it. But if you practice, it gets pretty easy. So it's all muscle memory and getting the neurons working between the arm and the brain. It takes a long time. Just like brain surgeons kind of take a long time before they get any good. And I'm not saying I'm good, but getting to a point, a level. Okay, this is the fun bit. Well, kind of. Wash the brush. Put that away. You don't need to see that anymore. I promise that's not my snot, that's paint. But it looks horrible on the screen. So I'm going to take the straw. This is a really old, shitty straw, but I've dabbed it a lot. And then I spit. Oh, well, that wasn't very good. It's not spitting properly, it's letting out big gobs. I'm going to try the little one. Yeah, this other one that isn't used as much, but it's a much bigger straw. Okay, that's getting a splat everywhere. So I know a lot of artists use toothbrushes. I should probably try that one day. But I like straws because generally a good straw will give you a lot more control, and it's a different kind of splat. But yes, see, when it's wet, it kind of fades in on it a bit. Nice dispersal pattern. Much better sounding too. Not bad. One more. Yeah, that one's probably a bit of overkill. And you can dab it back a little. As it dries, it's really going to fade away anyway. Most of it, not all of it, but I need to add a little bit of stronger white on his sword, because the sword you want to be relatively prominent, but I'm going to have to go over it in pen as well. So this side of the sword will catch some light. Well, it's also garbage day today, and someone's put their garbage out already. That is a fantastic noise of rolling garbage cans that I look forward to. That's a lie. I hate it. All right. do too much white. A little bit of white here. No, too much white. Alright. My favorite point is where it's damp but not wet, but not dry. So it's just wet enough that I can start adding some white stuff, but that it's not going to bleed too much. Yeah, it's still a bit wet there. A bit too wet, too much paint. But up here it's not. I can go back and add some stronger white lines. Well, it sounds like someone's in trouble now. Get the highlight on his shield. So all the light's coming from over there, it's not coming from under here. So you've got to think about the direction. Kind of. I like using my finger too, he said. Oh man, I really want to open my window so you can hear what I'm hearing. But I really shouldn't because it's distracting enough. But if they are the future of this country, oh my God. I was never a screamer when I was young. I was a quiet young man. I really was. I was very quiet. Alright. Trying to accentuate some of the lines in his cloth of his cape sort of thing. I don't know if you can pick that up. Yeah, you can pick it up a little bit. And it's going to get very strong on the edge of the cape where the light really hits. But I want it too strong everywhere. Okay. So you want a bit of a line there. Down there. Put my finger back in it to try and lighten it a little bit. Don't want the light everywhere. Well, definitely on the top of the arm, not the bottom. I'm no expert at this stuff, but if you watch someone like Eric Canetti, he knows exactly where to put lights and shadows and darks, and Mike Mignola too. They are masters at that stuff. I'm just blundering through. Yeah, kind of fucked that up, but yeah, I can save it. So hopefully his cape looks white-ish, but it's not actually white. It's within all the other colours that are going on around him. No. Need a smaller pen for that. Get his leg in. Maybe some light off this pouch thing he's got there. There's a little muscle there. Maybe his kneecap there. Off this leg here, he's got a little bit. And definitely off the, whatever the hell you call the hem of his boot. Whatever you want to call that. Why is there a red little thing? I'll definitely do it on this side too, because I'll define it. And off the bit of the kind of edge of the chest bit here as well. And probably on the other side, and here. This bicep's kind of important, so I want to build that bit up a little bit. There, he's got a little glint on his thing. I've got to put proper thicker white there. And the favourite bit is the skull. I'm going to give him some teeth. But only one side of his face is going to have the most white. This is way more time than I'd spend on one comic page. Obviously for painting, I wouldn't use the full acrylic ink because I know what I'm going to do color-wise in the computer and make it all sync up for an entire scene rather than a one-off image. You know what? That needs a white line too. Screw it, that is a white line. Bright sword metal thing needs white too. And his arm. Thought I already did his arm. As it dries, it fades, so sometimes I go over things several times. And then once it's really dry, things show up really well. Because I have a smaller white pen. But the ink on it behaves a little differently. It's mostly being absorbed into the paper right now. And the sword. Come on. Yeah, there's not much ink in that one. It's going to take me a while to have this thing dry out so that I could add some final bits to it. But I'm going to do what I can until it's dry because there's still a bunch. So I'll probably add a few little extra things before I do a final scan and show it on the Patreon. Because there's a few more details that definitely need to happen on this. His bow as well. His bow and his arrows. Need some highlights in his feathered flocked arrow things. I think it's called flocking. A little bit on the side. Side of the thing. You can't really see it from there. I'll bring it down. That's just going to look stupid over my face, but you can see it a bit more there. Yeah, I'm going to take it back up. Yes, I just take that on there. For better or worse right now. I have other Gorilla Grip things, but that one worked for now. Because it's on another tripod thing that I then attach to the thing. I need to get a proper thing. Yeah. I'm new at this. Yeah. I mean, I've seen some people build big overhead rig things to then just look down. Getting the red ink in that was not a good idea. Okay. Another bit is the white of the eye. This eye's not going to be, well, maybe it could be white at the end. I think white's better than blue because it's still going to be brighter. So I don't know what time works for you guys with live streams, if there's anyone left in here, but I'll just be doing them. And I'll put an alert out when I'm doing one. If you guys ever want to just check in. I really need to figure out sound effects for when people post in chat or something, that I can actually realize people have posted something. There's some commissions I got to do, and I got to do them more than one a week. So I don't want people to wait long. That I've been very guilty of at times in the past. So I like to get them done. Mailed off. Yeah, the sword needs to be a little brighter, but it's not gonna be done just yet until it's dried. You can't come in here when I'm filming. Who do you think you are? Yeah, I'm going to have to wait like half an hour or more on that to do that final little bit. Oh, it's tempting. Oh, God damn it. The clouds still need a bit. I'm going to have to wispy. Just a little definition in the cloud thing. I still need to put a sign up on my door that says filming, don't come in, especially for cats. But they've settled down for now, so that was my nightmare. They treat my bedroom door like an expressway sometimes. Got some lines in there. Now stick a couple more little lines going on in there. Could be embers, but either way they just like help promote action. And I think this needs a little line. The line works. You know what? Needs a line on his arm too. Yes. Yes. It works. No, thank you. If you need anything, just text me.
Well, I don't know if you got the phone on, so that's...
Of course I got my phone on. Yeah, we have this thing with the cat. With this cat, is if she thinks if you sneeze, she talks to you. So we always take big breaths like we're about to sneeze, and she talks back. Hiya. Oh, thank you. Yes, hiya. Otherwise, she's just a lump and she sits there. But pets keep people sane right now. They certainly help the creative process, I think. Yeah, I'm going to call it. I think this one's done. I think it is done. Because it's got to dry, and then I may have a little bit of a tweak to it. But that is, it's not badly focused. I'm trying to get the angle right. God damn it. But that's that. For now, at least. I may tweak it a little. I kind of like it, and I might tweak it in Photoshop a little just for kicks, just to show you guys. But no, I should do one more, the final thing. Yeah, it's dry enough. I should actually sign the damn thing. Have you ever seen me at a con? I have 3 signatures. I have one for official legal documents. That's my signature. I have one for signing comics, signing 3,000 things at once. It's a very quick signature for comic books. And then I have one for original art, which is like, I am an artiste and I must be taken seriously signature. So that's what this one gets, because it's an original piece of art. It's only a little signature, honestly. I think it's little. That's more like my fine art signature right there. Yeah, it's not bad. And turn it over. It's bled through a bit, but the paper dries really well. So it's still very good for framing and stays flat. But it's very damp right now. But that is that. Thank you for joining me for the first Patreon update and the first commission I did live on camera. I'd like to say tomorrow I'll do the Spider Jerusalem, because let me show you. If you didn't see it before, I have a Spider Jerusalem I need to ink and paint and add a lot of hopefully cool smoke effects. This is just an indication. But I'll do a spider, which I'm excited about, because literally, that'll be a nice image. I think that'll be a nice image, and that's a big commission. So, thank you for ever getting the commissions. If you do want one, you know what? It would have been clever of me to put the link in the description. I will when this one goes public, but it's co-fi.com/ben/whatever the fuck that is. Ben Templesmith. Yeah, it seems like a new little website you can tip just because you appreciate people, or because you can actually commission someone, and then we make videos of it. So that's going to be what you're seeing there, here, there, very shortly. And all my patrons first, because thank you. You give me life. Yeah, and if I'm going to be streaming casually anyway, probably, and you'll see me doing comic pages every now and again. The only thing you won't see me doing is things I'm definitely not allowed to show people, like the Dune cover I did. That's still probably not announced, but it's an exclusive. It's a variant. But yeah, you guys on Patreon can see that, but that doesn't mean I can still do it publicly. So I just show you behind closed doors, like everything else. Yeah, and I'll probably do the Patreon update thing as a separate little thing and go, yes, done, and then you can just watch it as a video. You don't even have to interact, but it'll be at a specific time. So if you want to interact, you'll know when it's on, and I'll get better at posting links and figuring this whole thing out so that you'll know when it is, and then figuring out my intro again. I'm going to play the intro. No, I won't play No, because it says let us begin and it doesn't work at the end. So no, I won't play that again. Thank you very much for watching. I never even introduced myself because this is for people that know me. But I was Ben Templesmith. I write and draw comics. I had a little movie made out of one. You may have heard of it, called 30 Days of Night, a few years ago. Yeah, watch me do this and more. Thank you. I will now figure out how to end the stream.